And one of the things that really helped people to think about, to learn about, and to get excited about commercial space transportation was the Ansari X Prize. Now, I know a lot of you have heard about the X Prize, but you may not be familiar with exactly how it came about. Peter Diamandis was sitting around with some of his colleagues and talking about and reflecting upon how aviation had developed in this country. And they noted that in response to Charles Lindbergh flying the Atlantic in pursuit of the $25,000 Orteig Prize, that the number of airplanes, the number of pilots, the number of people who flew on airplanes every year just increased dramatically. And so Peter thought, you know, that's what we need to do for space. And so they came up with this idea to have a $10 million prize for the first non-governmental group that could design and develop and demonstrate the capability to take 3 people up to the edge of space, an altitude of 100 kilometers, and then return safely to the Earth, and then take that same vehicle and do that same mission again within a 2-week period to show that it wasn't just a one-time stunt, but could in fact form the business, a demonstration of a profitable business venture. And this idea got a lot of attention all around the world. There were actually 26 different teams from 7 different countries that ended up registering for the contest. In the end, though, it was the team led by Burt Rutan out at Scaled Composites in Mojave, California, that came up with this very unusual looking set of vehicles, the large carrier aircraft or mothership called White Knight, and the smaller spacecraft called Spaceship One. And twice, within a 2-week period, back in October of 2004, they successfully accomplished the requirements for the prize. And so they won the $10 million prize. And so today, if you go across from FAA headquarters, across Independence Avenue to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, you will see in a place of honor, in the Milestones of Flight gallery, Spaceship One, hanging right between the Spirit of St. Louis and the Bell X-1, which Chuck Yeager used the first time the sound barrier was broken. I think that's an example of how significant that achievement was, that it does not take a government anymore with billions of dollars and thousands of people to build a spaceship. Now, our office is facing a number of significant challenges today. One of those has to do with the fact that, as you know, NASA has recently retired the space shuttle. And the reason for that being a challenge for us is that NASA has committed to rely now on private industry to take cargo and eventually astronauts to and from the International Space Station. And so because that will be a commercial operation, it will require FAA licenses, and so it's an important new responsibility for us in our partnership with NASA. As Laurie mentioned, NASA currently has contracts with 2 different companies, SpaceX and Orbital Sciences, to deliver cargo to the station. SpaceX has their Falcon 9 rocket, which they've developed, and their Dragon spacecraft. Orbital has the Antares rocket and the Cygnus spacecraft, and both are intended to have a system that can deliver cargo to our astronauts on board the ISS. And again, as was mentioned earlier, SpaceX twice last year demonstrated the capability to complete that mission with successful trips to and from the International Space Station. That was a big deal because it was the first time that a private company had ever accomplished that. And it was a big deal for us too, because we had given out launch licenses and re-entry licenses for those parts of the mission. NASA is also working on having the ability to take crew members to and from the station, and that is well underway right now with 3 different companies, Sierra Nevada, SpaceX, and Boeing, each developing systems to do that. And NASA has a target date of 2017 to be able to have hopefully more than one company that's able to carry out that mission. And with proper funding, I'm very confident that that will be possible. We're working closely with NASA on that. In fact, just last June, the FAA and NASA signed a memorandum of understanding which talked about how we would work together to lay out the requirements for commercial crew transportation missions. And under that agreement, all of those operational flights carrying crew members to and from the station will be done with an FAA license for public safety, and NASA will retain the responsibility for mission assurance and for the occupant safety.